The year without a summer. Appalachia endures. The fire beneath the earth. The earth is alive. Beneath our feet, it breathes. It shifts. It waits. And sometimes it roars. Volcanoes, great mountains of fire, are reminders that the world we stand on is fragile. One eruption can turn day into night. One mountain's fury can cool the skies above half the earth. Today, when we see them erupt, Etna in Italy, in Iceland, in Japan, we marvel at their fire. But we forget that fire also brings shadows, ash, cold, hunger, and death. 2 centuries ago, the earth shook with a force that blotted out the very sun. And from that darkness came a year that would scar the mountains forever. The day the sky broke. April 1815. Far from Appalachia, on the other side of the world, Mount Tambora tore itself apart. It was the largest volcanic eruption in recorded history. The blast killed tens of thousands within hours, but its truest power came after. The ash, the sulfur, and the veil it cast across the heavens. Carried by winds across oceans and continents, the particles spread into the stratosphere. They formed a shroud around the world, a haze that dimmed the sun itself. Seasons shifted, weather collapsed, and the northern hemisphere entered the year the skies betrayed the earth. The world darkens. Spring arrived in name only. In New England, snow fell in June. In Pennsylvania, rivers froze in July. Frost lay thick upon Ohio cornfields in August, and crops never grew. Livestock starved, and people fled. Across Europe, famine consumed entire nations. In Ireland, hunger brought disease. In Germany, food riots broke out. In Asia, monsoons failed, then drowned fields in endless rains. Millions perished. But deep in the Appalachian Mountains, the story was different. Here, the people knew hardship. They had always known it. They had carved life from stone, from forests, and from thin soils of ridges and hollows. Their bodies bore the marks of work. Their spirits carried the weight of survival. But even here, even in these hills, 1816 tested them in ways that could not have been imagined. Hunger in the hollers. Crops fell before they flowered. The fields were black and silent. Corn, once tall, proud, the staff of life, stunted and shriveled. Wheat rotted where it stood, and gardens gave nothing. The barns that should have filled with grain and hay stood half empty. Livestock, thin, hollow-eyed, were slaughtered early because there was no feed. Families watched their food vanish month by month and day by day. Hunger crept through every hollow, every ridge, and every cabin. Children cried at night with empty bellies. Mothers cut their own portions so the little ones might have a bite more. And fathers went into the forests, desperate for anything, roots, berries, wild greens, squirrels, rabbits, or anything that might keep them alive one more day. Neighbors shared what they could, but in truth, none had enough, and the mountains grew quiet except for prayer and grief. Faith in the ashes. When the land failed them, they turned to the only thing left, their faith and each other. Cabins filled with hymns singing at night, the kind that carries on the wind. Churches, worn and wooden, became more than places of worship. They became places of survival. Food was shared and sickness was tended. The dead was buried in silence, with hands clasped tight and heads bowed low. These mountains have always known sorrow, but in 1816, sorrow pressed like a weight on every soul, and yet they endured. Music in the darkness. It is said that in the darkest night, songs sound the sweetest. In cabins lit only by fire, families sang. Old hymns and ballads carried across the ocean by their ancestors. Prayers set to music. The children, hungry but tired, laid their heads in their mothers' laps and listened as voices rose. The fathers, weary, scarred, and silent, bowed their heads with tears in their eyes. Even in hunger, there was hope. Even in cold, there was warmth in their unity. A world transformed. The year without a summer left scars across the world. Famine in Europe, migration in America, new lands settled and old ones abandoned. Literature, art, even horror were born from the shadowed skies. Mary Shelley would write Frankenstein under a blood-red sky that summer. But here in Appalachia, its legacy was endurance. The people who lived through it carried the memory, and they passed it down. Stories of the summer that was winter, the year the sky went dim, the hunger that nearly broke them, but did not. It became a part of the backbone of mountain identity. Proof that no matter what the earth or sky demanded, the people would endure. The sun returns. At last the haze lifted, the sun returned, and crops grew again, children laughed again, and the mountains breathed again. But 1816 was never forgotten. It remained a warning that the earth itself can change, and in a single year, everything we depend on can vanish. But it remained a testimony that these mountains and their people bend, but they do not break. For the year without a summer was not just a season of hunger. It was a season of resilience, of faith, and of neighbors becoming family, of a people proving that their strength was greater than any shadow the sky could cast. And that is the story of Appalachia. Even when the sun is hidden, the spirit of its people shines. I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for more Appalachia stories. Have a good day, guys.